I held the dagger in my hand, trembling as her tear-filled eyes met mine. She didn't beg, she didn't scream, she only whispered, "It's okay, my king." It wasn't okay. Nothing about this was okay. I thought back to how it all started. Just a week ago, the drought had stretched on for months, a slow death for the kingdom. At first, we told the people to ration water. Then, we cut back on irrigation. But the wells ran dry, the crops turned to dust, and the livestock fell one by one. The cries of hungry children haunted the streets. The advisors came to me with desperate solutions: trade with distant kingdoms, raids on weaker neighbors, but there was no time. Then the priests came. They were pale and gaunt, like they hadn't eaten in weeks themselves. Their robes were stained with ash, their eyes hollow. They bowed low before speaking, their voices trembling. "The gods are angry, Your Majesty," the head priest said. "The drought is their punishment. We must make amends." I laughed. I told them they were fools. The gods had been silent for years, and I wasn't about to believe they suddenly cared about the affairs of mortals. But that night the ground shook. It started as a low rumble, like thunder beneath the earth. Then it grew, rattling the walls of the palace. I rushed to the balcony, expecting to see a storm, rain, lightning, anything. Instead, I saw flames. Fires burned in the distance, consuming villages at the edge of the kingdom. People screamed, running in all directions, their silhouettes black against the orange glow. The fire moved unnaturally, leaping from one home to the next without wind to carry it. The priests came again the next morning, this time with fear in their eyes. "The gods demand a sacrifice," they said, "a life of pure heart and royal blood." I didn't believe them, not at first. But the fire didn't stop. It spread, consuming fields, forests, entire towns. The air grew thick with ash, and the sun turned red. The people whispered about curses and omens, their faith turning to fear, and then the priests said her name. I froze. "No," I said, "anyone but her. There is no other way." The head priest insisted. "Her purity will appease the gods. Without her, the kingdom is doomed." I dismissed them, slamming the doors of the throne room. I wouldn't hear another word of it. She was my queen, my wife, the woman who stood beside me through every trial. I couldn't sacrifice her. I wouldn't. But as the days passed, the fires crept closer to the palace. The people grew restless, their whispers turning to shouts. They demanded action, answers. My advisors pleaded with me to listen to the priests. And then she came to me. I was sitting in the dark, the weight of the kingdom crushing my chest, when she entered the room. She didn't knock. She didn't ask permission. She simply walked in, dressed in her simplest gown, her hair loose around her shoulders. "I know what they're asking," she said softly. I looked away, ashamed. "I will do it," she said, her voice steady. "For the kingdom." "No," I said, standing so quickly my chair toppled over. "I won't allow it." She stepped closer, placing a hand on my arm. "You're not allowing it, my love. I'm choosing it." I shook my head. "We'll find another way." "There is no other way," she said, her voice breaking for the first time. "Don't you see? This isn't just about us. It's about them." She gestured to the window, to the fires raging in the distance. "We swore to protect these people. If my life is the price, I will pay it." Her words crushed me. The next day, the priests prepared the temple. It was an ancient place, hidden deep in the forest. The walls were carved with symbols of gods long forgotten, their faces stern and unforgiving. The air was thick with incense, choking and bitter. She knelt in the center of the room, dressed in white. Her hands were folded in her lap, her head bowed in prayer. The priests chanted around her, their voices rising and falling like waves. I stood behind her, the dagger in my hand. It felt wrong, like holding death itself. My hands trembled, my heart pounded. She looked up at me, her eyes calm despite the tears streaming down her cheeks. "It's okay," she whispered. "Do it for them." I couldn't. The dagger slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor. The priests gasped, their chants faltering. The air grew heavy and the ground began to shake. A deafening roar filled the temple, a sound that was neither human nor animal. The statues of the gods cracked and crumbled, their stone faces falling to the ground. The torches flickered, their flames bending unnaturally. And then she was gone. One moment she was there, her hands reaching for mine. The priests fell to their knees, wailing and beating their chests. The shaking stopped, and a strange stillness filled the room. Outside, the skies opened. Rain poured down in torrents, soaking the land, quenching the fires. The people rejoiced, their faith renewed. But I didn't rejoice. I returned to the palace alone, her absence like a hole in my chest. The halls were silent without her laughter, the nights cold without her warmth. Sometimes, when the wind is just right, I hear her voice, soft, distant, calling my name. And I wonder if the gods were truly appeased, or if they were just playing a cruel game. Either way, I'm left with the same question every night. Did I fail her by refusing the sacrifice? Or did I fail her by letting the gods take her instead?